So hey, how's it going, everyone? I haven't been around for a week. Took a little minor vacation. I got a little stressed, I started getting out to the point where I was out fishing like every single day of the week, and I wasn't catching anything. Nothing was happening. I wasn't getting bites. I mean, it's been miserable. Anyways, I thought I'd just pull off an episode here quickly and just kind of run you through all this gear that I use all year long, because I figured that I would be a great person to review this stuff because I use it like every day. I'm out in the stream all the time, out in the rivers, I'm walking around the woods with this stuff on, the fields and up and down banks, and as you see, I fall down all the time, so, that gives it wear and tear right there. And the stuff that I have, I figure, I might as well run through and tell you what I think of it. So the first thing I want to run by are my waders and stuff, my waders is like one of the most important part of my fishing gear, because, when they're out there and it's, cold or whatever, who the heck wants to stand in the water all day long? I have a lot of friends that free wade all day long, and they love it. But for me, when you're standing in a creek that's about 40 to 50 degree temperature, even if it's 90 degrees outside, it's still, your legs get really numb. So, getting us a pair of waders is kind of nice. Before, I had a pair of Sims waders, and they worked pretty good, and they were nice and insulated. You could go underneath there with just a pair of underwear underneath there, little tighty whities underneath there, and and your legs should be bare, and you were nice and toasty warm even in the winter time, which was pretty amazing. But problem was they were $399, and when you got a hole in them, they said, well, send them back to us and we're guaranteed that we'll fix them and send them back to you. I asked them, well, geez, how long is that going to be? And they're telling me, well, 6 to 8 weeks. And when you're in the middle of trout season and you got to get videos out, who the heck has 68 weeks to send your waders into a company and hope that they're going to fix it for you and send it back? Well, they're going to fix them, but just having to wait is just a big pain. So anyways, we'll just get to the waders real quick here, and I'll show you what I'm using. Next up is my Caddis ones now. My Sims, they cost like $400, and they didn't even last a year, and I got a hole in them, and I had and the worst part of the hole, it was in the sock. So when you got it in the sock and the seam, there's no fixing it. You can put some glue in there and try to smooth it out and make it as best as you can, but it's gonna get hard eventually, and it's gonna feel like you're walking around with a pebble in your shoe all day long. So anyways, I just said, you know what, the heck with it this year. I'm not gonna go out and spend a ton of money on expensive gear that I don't really need. I can, they say you're not supposed to wear jeans under your waders, but when you get the really cheap waders, you can wear whatever you want underneath them. And I wear a pair of insulated pants during the winter underneath these waders, and it works out fantastic. These ones that I'm using right here, though, is I've been using the Caddis wading system ones, I don't really dig this pocket in front, because sometimes when I'm screwing around with my spinners and I'm trying to tie them up, they'll come back up and they'll catch in that thing, and then you just gotta rip them out of there. It's just horrible. So, but these are pretty much the waders that I use. They're pretty decent ones, the two-toe. They got the guards back here to kind of keep it so, you got a little bit extra protection for when you're slamming into rocks. Walking through bushes is the big thing for me, because I walk through a lot of thorn bushes, and you can't have thorns come around and stabbing through your waders and put holes all over the place in them. And it happens a lot during the summer. Also, what's important to me is to have these Booties too. And these ones here actually have lasted me the whole season, and they finally went bad at the end of the season. One of my episodes, I ended up getting a hole in my boot. I think it was when I was catching the pike and the bass over there on the Red Cedar River. When I was out there doing it, I had these other boots that I had bought that go with it. They're a Caddis Boot. They're a Caddis Northern Wading Guide. I had them for like a whole year, and they did pretty good actually. I'm not gonna lie. They had, when I first got them, I got a slight little tear on a rock or something. I could have sent them back, but I figured, you know what, these things work great, and there's no reason why I could just, they're going to get more tears anyways. Well, end of the year, I got a tear like this. Look at that big old gaping hole on the side of those boots. And then when that happened, and we got this big hole in there, a rock went in, of course. And these waders here, they would have lasted me, I guarantee you, for at least a whole year, because the other pair lasted for a whole year. But when that happened, a rock got in there, it got into the bottom of the wader, sock there, and it caused me to get a hole. Ah, wonderful, huh? Well, I figured if I made it through at least part of the winter, when the next season comes around, I just go get another pair. They were only like $88, and I got it on my Amazon. Right now, they're kind of going for different prices. They're going, depending upon the size, they get 88 to anywhere to a little over $100, so they're not really that bad. It's when you can just go to the store and buy 2 pairs of these Caddis things, or go to Amazon and pick them up. And if something goes wrong and you get to the point where you can't fix them anymore, you throw them in the trash and you go buy another pair. How hard is that? That's awesome. So anyways, these are junk. We'll get rid of them. Now I'm going to show you my fun fishing poles that I use every year, you know. I'm a Fluger fan, and I won't use anything else on my poles except for a Fluger reel. All the reels that I've used some Penn reels, I've used Shakespeare, I've used a bunch of other weird cheap ones, Abu Garcia, a few of them, and I found that within a few months of them, you know, because when you're trout fishing, you're gonna dunk your pole. I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, you can stick it somewhere, you can stick it on the bank, but when you stick it on the bank, you know, you got wet dew on grass, and that's gonna get in your reel. I mean, there's just so many, you're gonna get sand in it, you're gonna have all these issues. You could take it apart and clean it once in a while, you know, spray it out, you know, and make sure that you got a bunch of, you know, all the gunk out of there, you know, just like once a month. But otherwise from that, they're my favorite reels ever. And this one here is an XT30. It's a Fluger President XLT, I think, limited edition reel. I've used it for 3 years so far, and I thought that so far it's been doing pretty good. It has a 6-to-1 gear ratio. Right now I currently have 8-pound test braid on there. My current line that I use is just Power Pro braid. That's all I use. I don't even use a leader. I go for like 8 to 10 pound tests on this guy here because it's smaller, but it just works out fantastic. Yeah, I even do that with my bigger one too. My bigger one, I'll put 8 to 10 pound tests on there most of the time too. But right now it has different line on it because it's steelhead. Like this right here is a 15-pound test, and this by far is my favorite. I won't use anything else but. It has no memory whatsoever. I use it in all these streams that are filled with rocks all day long, and I never have any problems. So I mean, I think the only problem I really had is when I was fishing at the St. Croix River, and there was a big giant bunch of huge boulders down in there, and when I was pulling it across, one of them, it kind of slid, the line kind of slid down an edge of a boulder, and it sliced it right off, and I watched the spinner go down to the bottom. That was a pretty sad day. This is my other Fluger President. That's an SP35. This has a gear ratio of a 5-to-1. This is fantastic reel too. This one here has not failed me at all. I mean, it has been fantastic as far as I'm concerned. It's just been one of my best reels. This one here is actually 2 years old, and I don't know, I've never had any problem with it, so why switch it out? If you got something that works, go with it. And the President so far from Fluger has been super, super fantastic for me. I couldn't imagine using anything else. It costs a little bit more. This one here is like 69 bucks. And I think originally this one here was like $49. It was on sale. Or I don't know, they're trying to get rid of it. You know, but otherwise from that, fantastic, guys. These are like two of the best reels I've used so far in my little fishing journey that I've had here. So also I wanted to talk a little bit about the rods that I use. That's all I use. I'm an ugly stick guy. That's all I use is ugly stick. I have another one that I had to end up having to pick up for one of my episodes where it was like a Rhino Rod. And you know, I had one of them when I was a kid actually, and I like Rhino Rod. It used to be one of my favorite ones. I haven't got a chance to really use it this year and really test it out, so I can't really give a great review on it yet, but you know, I'm sure that it'll pan out eventually. So, but this one here is a 7-foot medium heavy actually, and I bought this rod here specifically for going up and going after steelhead. I figured it'd work out great, and this heavier President, I figured that would work really good for it too. And this has that 15-pound test braid on there. I love this rod. This rod here is fantastic. This one it has a really stiff body on it. It makes it so when you're reeling in them big fish, it's absolutely no problem whatsoever. Now, the one that I got sad about losing, which really was kind of disappointing to me because I really love this rod. I mean, I've gotten teased for having this in my episodes. People are like, geez, you know, you're still using that rod? And I'm like, heck yeah, man, this is a fantastic rod. This is the GX2. It's a female version of it, of the GX2. I think it's a 6-footer, or it's 5'11" or something like that. Anyways, here's the rod right here. She's beautiful. I love her, you know, she's fantastic. The reason why I like the lady rod over the men's rod is the men's rod had more of a stiffer back on it. So when you were trying to get that, say you're walking up a stream, some of the streams that I fish are like this wide, and some are like this wide. Some are really wide. But when you're trying to, like, you're coming up to a log jam and you're trying to get your spinner up and around that log jam, so when you're pulling it back out of there, you can get a fish to come out and get it. And all these streams that I fish at, the big fish are under those log jams. They're nowhere. They're not just swimming around in the middle of the stream, looking around waiting for an eagle to come down and snatch them out. They're hiding and they're buried down in that log jam, and they sit down in there all day long. It's like, why come out when if there's food and little fish are swimming around and you got everything you need right there and you got all this cover and you don't have to worry about anything getting you. So that's where they're at. So that's where you want to put your stuff at, you know. So it's really, really important to use a rod that's going to get you there. And this one here had a tip on it, you know, that it's really, I don't know, I think the tip, I don't know, where is it? It's not here right now. It's around somewhere, but the tip broke on this pole, and this pole is fantastic. It had like where you could take the tip of it, you could bend it almost like this. But when you were going up the stream, you could flick it like that. You didn't even have to put a cast on it. You could just kind of do a fast flick, almost like you would do when you were playing foosball as a kid or something like that. You know, just would put that little flick of your wrist on there, and you can flick that thing. I mean, I could toss it up there probably, I don't know, 50, 60 feet and kind of get it around things a little bit better because of just the action it had on the tip of that pole was amazing. All right, and also another thing too that you see me use out there when I'm out in the stream, enough talking about all that kind of stuff, is that you'll see me using a thermometer. And the reason why I do so is that if the water's too cold, the fish will just get dormant and they'll lay there. They won't do anything. You can throw a lure wood, you can throw a lure by it and it'll just come swimming down and then the fish swim right by the fish. But once it hits that magic temperature, when it gets, you know, kind of up in the upper 40s and lower 50s and hits this like magic little temperature there, and these fish will just start going crazy and they'll start biting everything that moves. They're just like hungry and they'll feed. But also you get to some streams that are usually cold during the winter, but sometimes during the summer, you know, when you get into some of these streams and you walk up in there, you get out of the truck and you look down in there, it looks beautiful and you can see some fish down in there and you're thinking, all right, this is a great place to go. But when you go and you do the temperature check, you find out that it's in the 70s, and when it's in the 70s, the trout aren't going to bite. They're not going to do much of anything. You're not going to see much action. You're not even see them move. You can walk up and almost step on them sometimes because they're just lay there, and they just don't do much of anything. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. I suppose when it's too hot, it's too hot, like it is for you and me, where we're sitting in a hot apartment. Oh my God, just dying, thinking if you don't have AC, you're gonna sweat. You're gonna be miserable. But I just use a pool thermometer. That's this guy right here. I got it on Amazon. It was $10. Cheap little deal. I'll put like a link and little pictures up above me here, showing all the different kind of stuff that I'm using. You know, the different stuff I'm describing to you. But yeah, this is just a solar powered thing. I can drop it off a bridge. I use a really long fly fishing reel with line on it, you know, like this, that I can hang off a bridge, and I drop it in there and get everything that I need to get the temperature pulled up. All right, I get to see what it is. I get it in Celsius and Fahrenheit, but I'm not really good on Celsius, so Fahrenheit's my thing. But anyways, that's what I'm using. That's why I check the water. It's so important to check that water every time you go out, just because you just don't know what you're up against. Also, I got a Boss bag. This is the second one I've had. The first one, I had a fillet knife inside there, and it came apart from the sheath. It was my bad, and it went right through the bottom of it, put a nice big hole in there. I tried to patch it, but once you patch it once, it's never the same again. So now I just kind of take care of it and I don't let that happen. Anyways, here's my bag, and here's where I click on my little lanyard and stuff like that for, my hemostat. I just use a fingernail clipper. It has a little thing for cleaning out the jig holes. This is specifically made for fishing, so you can clean stuff out. You have your different little tools, your file and a little knife here, and a little hook here for cleaning out jig heads and stuff like that. And it's a good cutter. After a while, they get a little dull. You can sharpen them up if you can. If not, you can always just get another one. They're only like $1, so they're not really that bad of a deal. You can get them at Fleet Farm is where I've been finding mine at. So, but anyways, this works fantastic. I can get to whatever I need. Hangs up on my back. Perfect. Now we'll get to one of my other favorite little things that I got this year and I've been using and experimenting with, and I love it so far. I have a rubber net that I use because I do a lot of catch and release, and when I do my catch and release, I want to make sure that the fish can swim away and this little slime that's on it's not going to get all messed up and ruined, and then they're not going to do so hot. They're not going to live very long. I use a magnet system. I started doing it last year. I figured it was clip it on my side. I used to clip it on my back, but when I was catching a big fish and trying to reach around back here, and the net would be on this side, or I'd be reaching around on this side, and the net would be on the opposite side, and I would be able to get it, and I'm losing fish. So I figured, oh, I gotta end this. So I started hanging it on my side of my waders, you know, and I got this guy here with this magnet. I mean, if you get, it clips right on there. Bam, check that out. Perfect. It's not gonna fall off. You can jiggle it. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. It's not coming off. That's a pretty tight. I'm pulling on it pretty good right now. And that's a pitchy fun, I think they're called. I think you paid like $10 for it. I didn't pay very much, but this is pretty awesome. I'm totally happy with it, and I could imagine not fishing without it now. I mean, look at that. I just had to pull it apart. The cool thing about it is too is that when you're pulling it back inside a stream, a lot of times, if you look right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, you get like black sand collecting inside there, and you know, that's how you can tell. Some of these streams have gold in some of the areas that I fish in. Yeah, some of these streams that I fish on, there's gold in them. I mean, you go up in there, I've gone in there with my gold pan and just been going around and finding little tiny little pieces. I went up and I went around this little bend and there was a rock bar there. So I got out there with the pan and I found some. I was pretty happy about that. So it was just kind of fun little things you can do when you're out on the stream, you know. So anyways, thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next episode. Hopefully that's soon.